You know, when you think about the Spanish Civil War, certain images probably pop into your head. Franco, the international brigades, this massive clash between fascism and communism. But what if that's not the whole story? What if that's just the surface? This book right here, Untold Stories of the Spanish Civil War, makes a pretty bold claim that there's a whole other war, a hidden one, that's been lying just beneath the official histories all this time.
And the authors? Well, they don't waste any time pulling us into that hidden history. Right from the get-go, they start uncovering secrets that are, frankly, as chilling as they are revealing.
I mean, just let that sink in for a minute. Can you imagine seeing a crate labeled chocolate for kids, only to find out it's packed with aerial bombs? The sheer twisted cruelty of that deception is what's so shocking. It wasn't just about smuggling weapons. It was this cynical, horrifying mockery of humanitarian aid. It's one of those details that tells you everything you need to know about the moral stakes of this war.
And a fact like that, it just immediately forces you to ask this question. If something that dark could be hidden in plain sight, what else are we missing? What other stories got buried, whether on purpose or not, by those big, sweeping histories of the war? This question, well, it leads us right to the heart of this book's mission, to find, and more importantly, to amplify the voices that were silenced for decades.
This powerful quote from Maya Angelou is basically the guiding principle for the entire book. The editors see what they're doing as more than just digging up old facts. For them, it's an act of justice. It's about relieving that agony of forgotten history by finally telling the stories that people were forced to carry with them in silence.
So yeah, this isn't about just adding a few footnotes to the history we already know. It's about completely redrawing the map of the war. It's about looking at the conflict not from the top down, not from the perspective of generals and politicians, but from the ground up, through the eyes of people whose experiences were maybe seen as too small, too different, or just too inconvenient to make it into the official record.
So how do they actually pull this off? Well, they use a method with a bit of a mouthful of a name: post-essentialist historiography. I know, it sounds super academic, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple and incredibly powerful. So instead of talking about women in the war as if they were all one big group, it asks, which women? A Jewish volunteer from Palestine had a totally different experience than an anarchist leader who had a different experience from a refugee child. This approach lets a much richer, more complex, and honestly a truer picture come into focus.
And by using this method, the book uncovers this incredible chorus of different voices, a true polyphony of perspectives, as the title says. It just shows you how global and truly diverse this conflict really was. And the range of stories is just breathtaking. We're talking about Jewish women activists and Arab Palestinian volunteers, both fighting for the Republic. We follow the personal story of a German Jewish author and get to know the Basque children she met in a refugee camp. There are these unexpected stories of solidarity from Turkey, fierce debates between famous anarchists, and even this wild tale of Canadian veterans of the war being secretly recruited for special ops in World War II. It's just amazing.
And a picture like this just brings it all home, doesn't it? These aren't just names on a list. They were real people. This photo shows Basque refugee children at a camp over in Britain. I mean, look at their faces. You can tell they've seen things no kid should ever have to see. But here they are, raising their fists in this salute of defiance and solidarity. These are the voices the book is fighting to bring back.
But this isn't just about correcting the history books. The book makes it really clear why these stories, from almost a century ago, are still so explosive in our world today.
In Spain, they have this phrase, el pasado que no pasa. It means the past that does not go away. And that just perfectly captures the situation in Spain right now. The Civil War isn't some settled memory. It's a living, breathing wound that is still shaping politics and society.
And that unresolved past has really created these two powerful opposing forces. On one hand, you have the Pact of Forgetting. After Franco died, this 1977 law basically tried to draw a line under the past to help Spain move into democracy. The argument was, let's not reopen old wounds. But on the other hand, you have the recent Democratic Memory Law. And this law argues that you can't build a real democracy on a foundation of silence and unmarked graves. It's all about bringing justice and dignity to the victims.
And this debate has very, very real consequences today. We're talking about nationwide efforts to find and identify the remains of tens of thousands of people who were executed and just dumped in mass graves. We're talking about banning organizations that actually celebrate a brutal dictatorship. So you see, uncovering these untold stories is directly fueling a national reckoning that is happening as we speak.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. Spain's struggle with its own history. Well, it isn't just about Spain. It kind of forces all of us to look inward and ask ourselves, what are the untold stories in our own countries? Which voices have been pushed to the margins of our national memory? And what would happen if we finally started to listen?